I've been hunting for the best import action figures to add to my collection, and as a Marvel fan and action figure enthusiast, one figure has caught my eye.
Xmen.
Gambit.
I finally got the action figure, but is it worth the hype? Let's talk about it. So this is the Mafex 131 Gambit figure, a grail within the realm of figure collectors and an absolute must-have for X-Men fans. Being someone who likes the X-Men and is a fan of the 90s animated series, Gambit is a character I needed to get my hands on. With all the praise this figure has received, the choice seemed like a no-brainer. Throughout this video, I'll share my experience with this figure, from the packaging to the details, accessories, and articulation, which I'll handle differently from my past videos. Before diving in, I want to thank Jay Hernandez for helping me add this figure to my collection. Now let's get to it. In my opinion, Mafex does a solid job of presenting their figures in these awesome packages. Gambit comes in a sleek, glossy pink box that grabs my attention. There's a window with a glimpse of the character and all the other items included with him. As for the graphics, I love the concept of this one. It has a corner box taking inspiration from the one seen in many Marvel comics, and they cleverly reference the height of the figure plus the Mafex issue number, similar to how comic books reference their issue number and release date on the front page. I also love the Jim Lee artwork they used of the character with the speech bubble added. At the bottom of the box is a bust shot of the figure plus a bunch of text, logos, and faded imagery of the character. The left side of the packaging shows Gambit in a sweet action pose, and the same goes for the right side. At the back, we get several product shots of the character featuring close-ups, full body shots, and accessories. Getting closer to the goods, we have two trays containing everything. The first holds the figure with most of the accessories, while the other has these massive card throwing effects. These pieces look very nice, but one is a huge pain to deal with and caused a big problem for me, which I'll explain when we discuss the accessories. Pushing those accessories to the side, we have the figure, which looks fantastic. Based on some of the Mafex figures I've seen, I think they do a really solid job of recreating comic book style characters, and Gambit is no exception. Whether it's from the animated series or comic book style, I love the costume that Marvel gave the character of Gambit, and it's one that translates well into action figure form. This head sculpt provides an accurate look from the comics. The top has the big hair swept to the side, it's well sculpted and has darker areas for added detail. He does have the other essential elements like the face and ear cutouts, and the facial features look solid. Mafex starts the figure with a straight-faced look and nails the necessary details like red eyes and black outlining, plus the 5 o'clock shadow. The only issue I could see you having with this head is Gambit having full red eyes compared to the tiny red pupil look, and Mafex opting for the brown hair versus the red as seen in Jim Lee's design. Gambit's outfit is metallic everywhere except for his hands, and this finish makes his outfit stand out a lot. The torso details are pretty cool. He has a cross pattern around his neck with framing, and his abs are super defined, a look seen throughout many iterations of the character. You can tell this guy takes his workout seriously. Removing Gambit's jacket, you can see the sleeve detailing of his outfit. It has a rhombus design on the side and a bit of bulk to the upper area, which slims down as you work your way toward the forearm. The sculpting for his fist looks good, and Mafex gave him the gloves that leave his thumb, index, and pinky fingers exposed. Flipping Gambit around, we can see the back muscles, which look just as shredded as the front. Moving toward the lower area of the figure, Mafex does a great job of completing the character's look. There's framing around the waist, ripped calves with more of that rhombus design on the side of the pants, and Gambit's fancy looking boots with the big knee pads. They also made sure to include the many lines that start at the top of the boot and work their way down toward the toe. Earlier, I removed the jacket to show all of you the details underneath, but getting back to that piece, it's a soft, good jacket and I love it. This is a key detail of Gambit's costume, and Mafex did a solid job recreating it. There's the large collar, cuffs on the sleeves, and sections like the collar and coat tail have a wire inside for posing. I get why people love this Gambit figure. It looks incredible, and Mafex definitely nailed the comic book style of this X-Man. But that's just the beginning of what makes this figure so great. Import companies such as Mafex make sure to include a bunch of accessories, giving collectors a variety of display options, and Gambit is an example of that. Gambit has an additional head sculpt, several pairs of hands, charged card effects, power effects for his signature staff, and these big card throwing pieces. The swappable head has the exact shaping of the previous one, but has an angry expression coming in handy for combat. All the hands included are wearing gloves but have different positions. Relaxed hands, card holding hands for the charged up pieces, gripping hands for his staff, splayed hands, and then the same splayed hands but with pegs to attach those massive effect pieces. Here's where we run into that problem I mentioned earlier though. how heavy and annoying these effect pieces are. This effect right here is probably the least troublesome because it is a bit lighter, and when you have the hand angled backward and adjust the figure's legs, you can balance things out. As for the other piece, that's not the case at all. I didn't manage to capture it on camera, but the heavier card throwing effect did cause the other hand's peg to fall off. Outside of the weight, I'm not sure what caused this, but I was able to reattach it with some super glue, thus solving my problem. This could very well just be something that happened to me, so I wouldn't let that deter you from getting this figure. Gambit is supposed to include a stand to help balance this piece, but mine was missing, so I had to take one end and place it in the other hand. The process of this was gimmicky, but in the end it did work. As for the charged up cards that Gambit uses, I love what Mafex did here. Each effect is also made for a specific hand, with the swiping one going for this one, and the one that's set on fire going for this. For an additional weapon, Gambit has his shiny metal staff. This is in the same metallic blue color that we see on the boots and the framing around his neck and waist, and it also has some rings sculpted around certain areas just like we see in the comics. Gambit's staff fits snugly into the gripping hand and has detachable power effects for an added detail. Mafex really delivered with the accessories for this figure. They're all super detailed and serve a purpose, even if some are a pain to use. I would have loved if the handheld card effects had details on them, but I guess Mafex was going for the look of them being burnt off. Either way, these accessories are still going to be a big part of the final thing, making this figure so popular. Articulation is essential when it comes to an action figure, and if you're not able to pose that character in ways you'd see from a comic, movie, or any reference, that's a huge deal breaker for me. In my previous videos, I've showcased each point of articulation on figures countless times, but there's already several breakdowns of this figure doing that, and if you want to watch those, I'll link them in the description. To show you what this figure is capable of, I'm gonna pick 3 images of Gambit and try my best to recreate each one with this figure. For the first pose, I chose this shot from a 90s X-Men trading card, which has Gambit in this sweet action pose. He's in front of this explosion of clouds and there's these creatures surrounding him. Our second pose is this artwork from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is an awesome game. Then for our final pose, we have a shot from the cover of X-Men Origins Gambit from 2009. There are times when some things can be overhyped or underrated, but when it comes to Mafex Gambit, this figure lives up to my expectations and the ones set by many collectors before me. I just love how well Mafex designed this figure, the plentiful accessories they included, and the sweet articulation. The card throwing pieces are a pain in the butt, but other than that, it is clear why this is the Gambit figure everyone loves. So at the end of the day, would I recommend this figure to you? Absolutely. This figure was a very enjoyable experience for me, and I think you'll feel the same. Mafex Gambit is a discontinued release, but if you find someone selling it for a decent price, go for it. I was able to snag mine in a bundle from Jay Hernandez, which came with Mafex Psylocke as well, so this made my purchase all the more worth it. If you're interested in a review of that character, let me know in the comments. I do want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to watch this video, and as always, be sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more action figure goodness. I'll catch you all soon. Peace out.